Oh yes, me
Hollie
has finally hit 1k subscribers. Thank you to everyone that's watched, liked, shared, commented, and even subscribed. Means the world. Hollie's Hotspurs and Hollie's Hot Takes will carry on happening. I love doing it. Even Harry Winks is over the moon that we've hit 1k. He's fallen off. I think it's too many gins he's had, and probably the amount of slander he gets from all the guests that come on. But let's take a look all the guests we've had so far.
Sorry, can we just go back? I think there's one person that has had an honourable mention that we haven't mentioned yet, and that is the fluffy man sat behind you, because he has been absolutely awful this year. Whoever bought you that seriously needs to reevaluate what they were doing with their life. I believe I didn't say in the first one. Yeah, it was me. I think
credit goes to Harry Kane, because again, the man's just a monster. So, Costa, I come to you. What do you make of Harry Kane once again last night?
What else can I say? What hasn't been said about him? The man's, as you say, he's a monster. He's a match winner. He's one of the best team playing Spurs players, if that makes sense, I've ever seen in a Spurs shirt. Obviously, there's been some fantastic players over the years, but this guy just oozes Spurs. You know, the one thing that guts me the most is that he hasn't got no trophies yet. Because I've been having arguments, debates with Arsenal fans today, mates of mine, and they said, yeah, the man's absolutely world class, but what's he won? They're taking the mick out of us. They like, yeah, but, you know, Granit Xhaka's won more than Harry Kane. And that's what guts me the most, you know. I just want that boy to win something. He absolutely deserves it. Out of every Tottenham player I've ever seen over the years, he's definitely in the top 5 that I'd love him to win something, for sure.
Hopefully this season is the time we can actually finally give that to him. This time of year, when the Euros or say international break is happening, that line comes out every time on Sky Sports. Is he leaving? Is he going? Does he want trophies? What's kind of your stance on it, Anthony? What do you kind of take from it?
So I'm glad you brought this up, because last week, Monday, I had started to record a video talking about, I think it was Ornstein saying that Harry Kane is going to leave. Because on Sunday night, he had made some sort of statement that Harry Kane was going to leave. And I'm not joking. That day, he said he's going to stay. And so within 24 hours, the same reporter had said that Harry Kane is leaving and Harry Kane is staying. And I just was like, I can't even use the article from 24 hours ago to make this video. And so I was like, so frustrated. I just scrapped the whole thing. I'm working on a new one. But I do think that it's definitely for clicks. It's the only thing. It's not the only thing to talk about, but it's an easy thing to talk about, because you get all of us Spurs fans riled up, but then you also get, you know, the big names from all over the big clubs from all over the world, supporters of those clubs clicking on those links, because it's like, oh man, maybe Harry Kane could come to wherever, Real Madrid, Bayern, or whatever. And it's just like, they're just doing it for the clicks. And I'm really disappointed in Ornstein, because I actually like The Athletic. I subscribe to their stuff, and usually enjoy reading what they write. But when you do that back to back, it's like, come on.
Give it a rest, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. This always comes up, man. This always comes up, Max. I'm going to get it out now. So, Jay, he bought it for me for Christmas, because I do love Winks. I'm not going to lie to you. Ever since, though, man's fallen off a cliff. He's been kicked around the room, Max. He's been volleyed. He's been drop kicked. He's really not doing it for me. Imagine that Winksy does suddenly turn it into chuck it. Oh my God, can we not? My setup's changed. And I finally put on the wall my centre circle, what's it called? Tracksuit that I had on. And that was the last night Harry Winks played amazing. So I have jinxed him for the rest of his life. Yep, you can blame Jay, Sofian. That was my Christmas present. Thought we'd be able to go to Arsenal and give them a good game. I feel like we never really got out the tunnel.
Why does it take an hour or 70 minutes and even to go down to 10 men for us to actually start putting the ball in the box, to actually start pressing Arsenal, start making things happen? Why is Kane, the only touch he's actually getting is from a free kick? What game plan was it? It's like we didn't have a game plan. I think defensively, on the left-hand side, Doherty, he was just awful. Arsenal just getting so much freedom down that left-hand side, because we were lucky. We went 1-0 up out of the blue, out of a shock goal, and think it would have been spoken about more had the result even been a draw. But that goal won't even be spoken about. It won't get the limelight that it deserves, because it's off the back of a performance that I wouldn't even give any of our players over a 5 out of 10. In terms of like attacking side of things, there just wasn't anything. Arsenal looked like they dealt with everything. David Luiz probably had one of the easiest defensive games of his life, because you know he can be a liability at times. Leno didn't really get tested at all. I can't remember a shot other than the goal, obviously, that Leno actually had to dive to his left or right to save.
I'm not saying Jose's blame-free. Jose has his flaws, you know, sometimes his tactics, sometimes the substitutions he makes. But I feel like the problem is way broader than Jose. We've still got the same issues we had before Jose, and if we don't sort them out, we're still going to have them after Jose. You can see he doesn't trust the defense, because that's the one part of the pitch in particular you're always seeing. You can't predict that part of the lineup, you know, when they get released. He's constantly chopping and changing that defense. You can see he doesn't trust it. I don't blame him either. If I had that defense, I would be throwing as many men behind the ball as possible. So, and then you can see it showed in the Everton game. You know, we've gone more attacking and we've conceded 5. Again, there's a conversation to be had. I had this not long ago about the whole, you know, them trying kind of thing. But you've got to look at the opponent. I am fed up tonight because it's individual mistakes as usual, which is a problem we've had before Jose. And we're going to have after, as I said, if we don't sort this out. Remember, Poch said he wanted an overhaul. Remember, at the end of Poch's tenure, we was horrible. And Poch said himself, we need a squad overhaul. So from when Poch says that, you know, a lot of the people that want Jose out loved Poch. So if you love Poch, listen to what he says and realise this isn't just a Jose problem.
The lineup was pretty impressive. I'll start off with this new term that everybody's came up on Twitter as this shag terminology. That obviously consists of Sonny, Harry, Ali and Gareth. So Max, I want to come to you first. How amazed were you to see those in the starting lineup today?
Oh, it's brilliant to see. I mean, that's what the fans have wanted for so long, isn't it? Finally, we get to see whether it is shag in the squad, whether we're allowed to even call it that, because obviously it's been trending on Twitter. I mean, Dele Alli, obviously unfortunate not to get the goal, going down as an own goal. This is definitely the 4 we definitely want to see going forward, because they can make chances going forward, and then that's what we want to see.
Obviously, with the emergence of Skip at the moment bossing it at Norwich, do you think when he comes back to Spurs after his loan, do you think he'll be a key starter, or do you think he'd probably be a rotation with maybe the likes of Højbjerg?
Well, I'll add another theory into the mix. If Norwich get promoted, he might be better having a full season at Norwich in the Premier League. It all depends on what Mourinho's plans for Skip are next season. That if he's going to be sort of, you know, on the fringes of a first team sort of role, better than what he was before he went to Carrow Road, then you sort of think, okay, maybe there's sort of a claim for him to actually stay. But if he's just going to be a squad member, then you think, actually, why not have him in the Premier League, getting that experience every week? And then for the 22-23 season, which obviously seems a long time away, then that's the time you get him in the mix in your first team. I guess it all depends on moving the depth chairs around, as Carl says, as to sort of if Winks leaves, if there's a gap. If there isn't a gap and his progress is halted, then you might sort of think, actually, then maybe sort of come out on loan again. So I'd probably lean towards the loan move.
None of us fans deserve what they went out and put on last night. We've all been told it's good squad players. So, okay, last night, squad players, that's your opportunity. 2-0 up. You're supposed to be coasting through. Why didn't you do your job? Do they care about the club? Did they wear it with the same passion and pride that we all sit here and do?
Potentially that there is lack of confidence there, but also it is their time to shine. It shouldn't matter that the squad was rotated. It shouldn't matter that different players are coming in and playing with different players. You know, they train day in, day out together. I just think it was a mentality problem. And that is something that I believed Jose was going to be able to fix. I agree with David in the sense where I can blame 50% of my blame on the manager, but I also blame 50% of that blame on the players. And anybody who's sitting here saying manager is 100% at fault clearly doesn't watch football, because last night you could see from the attitude of the players, from how they were approaching the game, none of them even got going. Even the substitutes who during the game when they were subbed on should have been chomping at the bit to get on that pitch to change the game, none of them seemed interested either.
How refreshing was it to also see Lucas playing out his skin last night?
Oh my God, he has been just a revelation. I have been so surprised because, in fairness, like, I'm going to hang my head in shame here and say I wanted him to go. Like, say, at the start of this season, I was like, Luke's not going to cut it for me. I know he's had that iconic Amsterdam moment, but I've always said, like, he's living off it. But he's really impressed me. I think with Lucas is, I've always said he does 90% of the game really well. Like, he tracks back for you, he's bursting with energy, but it's always been his final pass or his decision making and his shooting that's let him down. But in the last few games, he's been producing, and he's been producing regularly. And to be honest, he was our best player last night. You could say he's been our best player for the last 2 weeks even.
I'm going to use Harry Winks as an example from what I'm about to say. I'm not happy with my game time. I want to prove to Jose that I can be in the squad. I want to prove to Gareth Southgate that I can be in the Euro. Continue to not play for Spurs doesn't show that Mourinho isn't picking Winks because Mourinho doesn't like Winks. Mourinho is the type of manager who doesn't pick players on sentiment. If you play well, if you train well, and you show your professionalism and you show that you are willing to do everything you can when you're on the pitch, he's going to play you. So if you're Harry Winks and you're coming out and you're making these comments, do something about it. I think a lot of players in the club have that mentality that they feel like, I was just about to say those exact words, just took them out of my mouth. That was insane. They feel like they deserve to be there without actually putting the work in. Those kind of players that if they're in the dressing room, they bring the mentality down. That's where Spursy comes from. We've always had those one or two pieces of deadwood who bring the rest of the team down.
I really hope so, Holes. You know, weren't we, earlier in the season, you know, you'd come on our show and we were kind of all sitting there thinking, oh, I don't know, you know, is the guy a busted flush as such? And, you know, was it just a PR stunt? It looks like something's finally happened. The fitness has obviously maybe got there. He feels better in himself. And now we're starting to see on the pitch, he's actually delivering. And that's hope. That what a time to start coming into some form now with the second half of the season. You never know, those goals could help us win a trophy now by the looks of it.
It's going to be moments, and I think we're getting to see those moments now. It's kind of warming up nicely to the League Cup final, then we're kind of in for a lovely April, aren't we? But between them, there's, 3-4 league games still to be played, and I think now we're kind of, more importantly, seeing what you'd like to consider full fitness. There was always a case with Bale of next month, okay, we'll give him to October, okay, November, December, and so on and so forth. And you're kicking the can down the road thinking, well, hang on, when are we actually going to get this player? Now we've got him, all things on the table, and it's all looking very rosy.
Really intrigued almost by the way we set up. Like, obviously, this Arsenal side is probably like one of the worst that we've all probably seen in our times. You know, we're roughly sort of in our 20s and whatnot. Yeah, we gave them so much respect. It was ridiculous. Anybody that watched them against Burnley recently knows that if you go at Arsenal and if you attack them or press them high up the pitch, you know, you're going to get success out of it. That's where their mistakes are coming from in terms of them trying to play and build from the back. We just sat off them, and I was really confused. Like, we had a lot of pace in the side. Obviously, Jose seemed to have stuck with a Premier League side that has been in good form recently, obviously winning 4 games on the bounce. It's like today it was just chalk and cheese, I think, from, you know, almost what we'd seen recently. Everybody was saying that we've turned a corner, myself included, and it was like today it was very deflating in the sense that probably until Lamella come on, there was nobody there that you could sort of see that from a fan's perspective that just sort of understood the game and what the game meant. No bit of bite. There was no real determination. There was no leaders.
For a 16-year-old lad, it looks extremely self-assured, confident on the ball as well. It looks the future star.
It does indeed, and people have been saying that his potential is maybe a lot higher than Kane's, and obviously we all know what Kane's like.
I think with Scarlett and John and Lavinet, for me it was just nice to see them play, good to get game time, and I've always been the biggest advocate. I was looking at players that genuinely could break into the Tottenham 11 over the next 5 years. My only worry is that we might become a bit of a Chelsea club in the sense that we have all of this young, brilliant talent and they can't break into the team. But, you know, for a 16-year-old to get into the team shows that maybe there's that chance. And going off Troy Parrott shows, you know, Jose went out of his way to get Troy Parrott to train with Kane, to get his attitude right, to get all of this, and he's not doing it. But a more mature 16-year-old Dane Scarlett is. So for me, I know for a fact who I want as, you know, the next up-and-coming striker for my club.
There's obviously this Brazilian connection between Vinicius and Lucas. Lucas has helped Vinicius get settled in London. And I think that Lucas really wants to see Vinicius succeed, like inspiring, I guess, in a way, but also kind of weird. A common trope is that professional athletes care a lot more about themselves and their own success than anything else. But I think that's the opposite with this scenario. I think Lucas wants Vinicius to be 10 times the player that Lucas sees himself as being, and comes through with their relationship. And I think it came through with their celebration. Lucas looked like he scored the goal when Vinicius put that ball on the back of the net. That relationship that they have is just going to permeate through the whole squad. I think we really saw the squad be together. I look at defending. Everybody covered their teammates' backs and they wanted to be exactly where they needed to be. I loved that response. I wish we would have gotten it on Thursday, and I wish we would have seen it last Sunday.
I want to come to you. Obviously, Wes has touched on the centre-back partnership of both Sanchez and Dyer. And I was the same. I wasn't looking forward to it. Do you know why maybe Toby was left out, or would you prefer to see Toby over either one of those two?
Well, it's not just Toby. I think Roden as well. Where's Roden? He didn't play Thursday because he's not registered. Wasn't in the team for Man City. So what's happened to him? Has Mourinho got no hope in him, no faith in him? I mean, the only mistake I can think of was he had the mistake against Liverpool. He had a little mishap against Chelsea, but I don't think he's put a foot out of place. With Toby, I always thought that Mourinho would maybe not play Toby because of his lack of pace against certain teams. With Antonio, obviously very quick. West Ham have got a lot of quick wingers, but it just doesn't, like you say, it just doesn't fill you with any hope at the moment. I mean, what has Roden got to do to get into this team to start again?
Sensational, isn't he? You know, let's talk about the first goal that he scored. What happened was that Celso, I think it was, plays the ball through to Kane, and the ball is overhit by the Celso and goes to the defenders of Newcastle. Harry Kane is annoyed. You can see his arm motion of how annoyed he is at that pass, but he doesn't stop. He always thinks that I've got a chance, and that's when the issue comes in. And, you know, the Newcastle defenders run into one another, and then he takes a quick touch and scores. If it had been the likes of Dele Alli, you'd have seen a different reaction. You'd have seen him throw his arms on the floor, turn around and stop playing, and we'd have lost that chance to score. Yet Harry Kane always thinks there's an opportunity for me. I could potentially score. Something might happen. And that's what great goal scorers do.
Talk about Lewandowski being the best striker in the world and Kane. There's this debate on who is the best striker in the world. Out and out goal scorer, you got to give it to Lewandowski. All round striker, Harry Kane, because he gets into positions that a natural born goal scorer wouldn't even think about getting into. He thinks about the game on a 360. And every single aspect, who can I pass to? Who's in space? How can I control this? And on top of being, right, what positions can I get into? Who's currently on the ball? How can I get this ball in the back of the net? And he's so unselfish, yet he still manages to top the scoring charts. It blows my mind.
Can we talk about Harry Kane taking free kicks? Because I'm done with this now. I've been done with this a long time. And look, I love you, Harry Kane, but please stop. Like, yeah, I don't remember the last time.
Scores one deflected free kick years ago against Aston Villa, and now thinks he's the specialist.
Is that why he hits the wall every time? Because he's hoping it's going to be deflected again.
It's insane. It is
a madness. I think if they were going to fault Harry Kane, I think that's got to be the one thing. It just blows my mind every time he steps up and takes it. I'm thinking, oh, not again, boys. Come on. From rivalry aside, they've said if we do get rid of both, can we trust the board to replace them? And I think we've seen that countless times before. We did the same with Bale. Who have we brought in with it? So I want to get your guys' takes on it, but I feel like it's going to be the same as mine. I just feel like they won't. So Matt, I'll start with you.
If Kane and Son did go, I wouldn't want the board to replace them with two equally world-class players. First of all, because that's always such a risky tactic. You know, if you're looking at it in the last couple of years when Premier League clubs have tried to sign world-class players, how often does that actually work? You look at Kai Havertz at Chelsea this season. You can say the same thing about Hakim Ziyech, Nicola Pepe at Arsenal as well. So what I would want is a more balanced squad where it's not that Ferrari up front, the Nissan Micra at the back. Maybe it's just an Opel Corsa or something the whole way through, so reliable from back to front. But then, are the board able to do that? Like you mentioned there, the 7 players he brought in when Bale left. You know, Lamela is the only one that's left at the club right now, and 90% of people don't want that to be the case. So it's hard to have confidence or have faith in the board to do the right thing if Kane and Son left. But personally, what I would like is that kind of more balanced squad. Bring in a few centre backs. Of course, we're going to need a striker. We're going to need a winger. But let's not go out and get £100 million striker or £150 million winger, because I think there are better ways that money can be utilised. But even having said that, if we do lose Kane or Son this summer, who's to say that money is going to go back into the squad anyway?
They was a lot easier to watch because we only really had the dead wood, so to speak, of both Lucas and Sanchez. I feel like every other position was well pointed out. I think the fact that we didn't see the likes of Winks behind me, the fact we only saw Sissoko towards the end, I feel like that today made a massive improvement. So, Chris, I want to come to you. Do you feel like this is the time to really start kicking on? And
yeah, I think that's probably Tottenham's best 11. Actually, have to kick on today. It was absolutely vital that we got the 3 points. It put things into perspective now. You know, when you look at the Premier League table, and we're only 6 points away from top 4, which looked very, very bleak last week. And then when you've got games coming up, you know, Fulham away on Thursday, Crystal Palace at home on Sunday. You know, you look at these games and you're thinking, these are winnable games. I know all of us Spurs fans think, oh, these are winnable games, and then, you know, it doesn't quite materialise and we don't quite get the results. But, you know, we have to start grinding these results out now. We have to.
That's it. That's pretty much all the highlights of Hollie's Hotspurs, plus much more. You can watch all of them in the Hollie's Hotspurs live playlist and the Hollie's HotTakes playlist at your heart's content. We have plenty more guests lined up for the future with all the games coming up, especially the Man United one, and the Carabao Cup final is going to be proved to be a good one with some class guests. So keep your eyes peeled out for that one. But please remember to hit that subscribe button so you're always notified when I am live. But until next time, come on you Spurs.